Okay, welcome to this episode of The Self-Led Leader. Today, I'm so excited to speak with Dr. Hendrik Taubert. He is the personal confidant to conscious entrepreneurs, investors, and public figures. He helps those at the top and those on their way to the top to grow beyond limits, to create true prosperity, and to make a much greater positive impact on the world. Welcome to The Self-Led Leader, a podcast for high performers who want to lead from alignment, not expectation. I'm Dr. Christina Ady, a social psychologist, and I'm here to help you lead with clarity, not chaos. This show is about what happens before the strategy, your mindset, your nervous system, the inner leadership that shapes everything you say and do. Because presence isn't about being loud, it's about being aligned. Let's get right into it. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Christina. I'm glad you're having me.
Thank you. Can we start by you telling us a little bit more about who you are and how you got into this work?
Yeah, sure. That's already a big question, a deep question. Who you are? Who are you? And I've spent almost, I would say, 25 to 30 years to getting a bit closer to who I am. So working on myself and exploring who I truly am beyond all the roles on the outside. I'm the personal confidant to clients who want to grow further. So my clients are entrepreneurs, investors, but also public figures who have already almost everything in life, what you can imagine. They have enough money, they have enough houses, they have enough whatever. So my clients are people who are at the top or on their way up to the top. And they have usually everything when it comes to material goods, when it comes to money, when it comes to real estate. But somehow they feel that something is missing. Some meaning is missing, for example. Some deeper connection to people within their private relationships, but also in their professional realm. So they have the feeling, I often use this, that they sense that there is a glass ceiling above them, and that prevents them from growing further. It's often just the imagination. It's often also limiting beliefs, but also old patterns of feeling, patterns of behavior. They often feel that they are kind of limited in their further growth. They want to grow further, but as I said, they have this imaginative glass ceiling above them that prevents them from growing further.
Yeah, it's such an interesting line of work because from my experience and a lot of the people I talk to, it's this desire that we all have to get to the top with the assumption that once we do, everything will magically be okay. When I make X amount of money, when I get this kind of title, when I get this house, when I get this car, when I have all these external things, all of a sudden, everything will be amazing and magical, and it's what I've always wanted. And it's so interesting to hear that the same kind of challenges continue once you're at the top if you haven't done the inner work or come to some sort of understanding of who you are and what you're here to do and what your values and your purpose is. So from your perspective and I guess, like, what are some of the most common challenges you see? Like, why is it that so many people still feel empty when they've quote unquote made it to the top?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So one of the major reasons is their way of thinking and the way of thinking of who they are. So their personal identity, what they think who they are, and what they think others are, and what the world is all about. That these patterns of thinking, these identities, they are often learned very early in childhood, but also in their first years of climbing up the ladder. So they see the world through the lens of their upbringing, through the lens of the culture, through the lens of important persons that were in their lives at those days. Mm, could be teachers, could be peers, could be whatever, role models that they cling to at this particular time of their lives. So the challenge is that these early adopted patterns are often no longer suitable in a later stage of our lives. So what we have learned about ourselves and about the world has had a specific function at those times when we learned it. But as we grew older and as we became successful, as we become successful, these old patterns that have helped us often to navigate the world, and even when I talk about childhood trauma, that has helped us survive in a way. But at a later stage, these patterns of thinking and these patterns of feeling and of the behavior that follows that, they are no longer suitable for the life that we have built. And they no longer help us, but often they stand in our way when we want to grow further. I will just give you maybe a brief example. If I learn in my childhood that an emotional relationship, for example, with my mother, was always a little bit dangerous or was always a little bit difficult to navigate. And I'm sharing a personal story here. So for me, dealing with the emotions of my mother for a long time was very much difficult because I did not know how to deal with these ups and downs of emotions, and no one taught them to me. And I was frightened. So I was very fearful, because sometimes the mood was good and then the mood was not so much good. And so I didn't have any clear orientation. So what I did then was separating myself from every emotion, because emotions were uh, dangerous territory for me. The problem was that when I grew older, the emotional separation also separated me from having deeply trusted and loving relationships, for example.
Mm.
And I was so fearful in um, my first experiences with other women, because for sure life and relationships, especially intimate relationships, they are full of emotions. And if you don't know um, how to deal with them, you're running into a problem. I was running into a problem because I was so afraid of these deep feelings. So I decided to really run away from every woman at those days, um, who was offering me a deep emotional experience. So, what has helped me in my childhood or even in my early adolescence was no longer helpful when I wanted to enter into a relationship with a woman. So, what I had to learn then is to reconnect to my feelings in a healthy way, so I could deal with my own ups and downs with the movement of energy, yeah, the emotion within myself. And once I learned this, once I integrated the ups and downs and every emotion that is human, I was no longer fearful of showing emotions and also having relationships, professional relationships, but also intimate relationships, where emotions just played a huge role. So in this moment, I become more aware of myself and learned how to grow beyond these old patterns of separation. Um, I was able to enter into deeply trusting and also loving relationships.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful the way that you put that, because it's undeniable that our upbringing influences us at every level. Whether, like you said, that's with peers, with teachers, with your family system. At every level, every influence impacts us. But because we're children or adolescents, we don't even stop to consider that. Like, we're not even taught that that's happening and that's a possibility. And it just becomes the norm. And like you said, it becomes the perspective through which we see our life and everything that we expect to happen around us. And so it's a very, I guess it's a very bold, it's a very empowered place to get to where you can say, like, it's time to change that. And it's time to let go of everything that I think is normal and recognize that what I think is normal is no longer helping me. It's actually harming me in this new part of my life. And I think that process alone is so scary for so many people. And it can leave them confused, uncomfortable, questioning the validity of their upbringing. For myself, it was a very interesting process to go through that and to sort of have this disconnect between I had so many people who loved me, but here's all of these perspectives that they placed upon me that I don't agree with, that have hindered me in some way. And that's not a fun place to be. And so I'd love to hear more about your experience and your process and the way that you really help individuals integrate these different aspects of themselves, the different emotions, as well as these really like embodying the new way of seeing the world that's more in line with how they would prefer to see it rather than what's been kind of forced upon them without them knowing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true what you're saying. What this reminds me about the consequences of these early patterns that I have learned and that we all learn in the society or in our families where we are brought up, and in our workplaces, or when we are entrepreneurs, when we are stepping into new roles. I realized that I need to go deeper inside of myself first before I can build anything substantial and anything sustainable in the outside. So I give you an example. I always was an entrepreneur, or I was self-employed. I started as a journalist. I was working as a journalist for 13 years for newspapers, news agencies, public radio and television in Germany during my law studies and communication science studies, journalism studies in Germany. And after that, I became an entrepreneur as a lawyer. So I founded a law firm. And founding a law firm was never what I've dreamt about, but I decided to do this because I needed a lot of freedom at those days. I wanted to take care of my grandmother. I was raised by my grandma. She was dying, and so I felt to make the circle of life round. I need to spend time with her. I wanted to spend time with her. It didn't make sense for me to sit at a desk somewhere in an office in Hamburg. And so I decided, okay, there is the next step, or something possible for me was becoming a lawyer. So I founded my own law firm. And as I have a good perception of niches and of demands that are not served, or that are not well served, I was positioning myself in such a niche. And because there was only one other lawyer in this niche in entire Germany, I immediately got clients. I immediately had 5-figure months, and so on and so on. So from the outside, material wise, everything looked fine, and everything was fine on the bank account at those days. But I was not fulfilled. I was not really deeply connected to what I really wanted to do and how I really wanted to work, and with which people I really want to connect to. So there was this early success in the outside, but a deep a deep hole, or something missing in the inside. And I always felt, when I build something on the outside, but it's not, which is not based on my deep personal values or on what is really important to me. A little bit later, I even came to the realization what the soul wants me to do in this world, my soul wants me to do in this world. So if I build something in the outside, this is all built on quicksand in a way. For sure, you can be successful and highly successful. And lots of my clients, they are highly successful, but many of them, they haven't done the work on figuring out who they really are, what their biggest gifts are, and what their contribution to society can be. So how the fulfillment works in their lives. And this was the moment, I was in my early 30s, I think. This was the moment when I decided, okay, no matter what I'm building now in the outside or what will become successful, if it's not rooted within myself, if it's not based on my deep inner values, it's all built on quicksand. And so I decided, this is not the way how I want to lead my life. And this is also not the way how I want to build something. So this was the moment when I decided to always use this picture, when I decided to take the torch and went into my own cellar, just finding out what demons are inside, what structures are inside, what's really going on inside, especially looking behind these heavily locked doors. That were to open these doors was like the can of Pandora. It was like a problem of, okay, what is going to happen if I really trust, if I really commit myself, if I really love and allow others to love me. This was all dangerous territory. But I felt and I realized, if I won't do this, everything I build on the outside, it can just crush immediately, especially when the conditions on the outside are changing quickly, which is something that is happening right now outside. But we come to this maybe a little bit later.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point that you made, that so many people end up living life without ever really considering what their values are, what will bring them fulfillment, and how to link the two. So, from my experience, and I'd love to hear this from you after, many people end up pursuing things either, number one, because their parents have placed very strict expectations on them, especially I find parents who are high achievers themselves, or parents who have achieved things themselves, really try to force that, through love, through good intentions, onto their children. Or it's seeing an environment where there is a lack of quote unquote success, and that driving you to be able to achieve that for yourself. But in both cases, it's based on external values, it's based on external forces, it's based on external perceptions that don't match up with what someone truly wants to do. And so it is an interesting exercise to really consider, what is someone's definition of success? And is that based on the way that society tells us success should be and should look like? And if you're someone listening who finds yourself in a position of quote unquote success, but still feeling empty, still feeling like there must be more to life than this, what are some of the techniques or strategies or exercises you would recommend they start with gently, so that when they get to that Pandora's box, it's not quite as overwhelming? Or, yes, I think it's an interesting point, because I think that the types of listeners that we have here, they understand the value of personal development. They understand the value of understanding yourself before you can lead others. And yet there is often this interesting disconnect between, like, how far is too far? What are my comfort zones? How much personal development can I actually do before it's like, this is too much, this is too scary, I've reached my limit?
So first and foremost, my encouragement is to embark on this journey. To this a bit, it sounds a bit a bit drastically, but to really jump into the abyss. So it's really to take a leap of faith and to say, okay, life is the most unpredictable thing that we have. The only thing we know is we were born at a certain point and we will die at a certain point. What is going to happen in between is completely uncertain. And having this in our mind, the different perspective towards life, makes it a bit easier for us to try new things, to make tiny little steps towards an area an area that is uncharted, so that I don't know what is going to happen there. And the most uncharted territory for many people is the territory within. So what could be helpful is, as a first step, is just realizing what is going on in my life right now. It's a very simple question, and taking the time to step back a little bit from this rushing, stressful, demanding, fast pace that many of my clients are in, and I also guess many of your clients are in. They are functioning, they are fulfilling their roles, they are juggling the different balls of family and of entrepreneurship or employment or whatever, becoming an investor and taking care of their companies and so on. So these are very busy lives and very demanding lives. And the first simple step is to take oneself so serious in a way, or to care for oneself in the way of just stepping out for some moments. This can be some moments during the day. This can be some moments in a week or in a month, or even if you just do it twice a year, and leave the hamster wheel in a way, consciously leave the hamster wheel with a few reflective questions, or questions that can bring up reflection. This can be already the first step to become more aware of what the heck is going on here in my life, and what are the consequences of what is going on. So how do I really feel in certain situations? What are my thoughts that are coming up when I meet certain people? What are my thoughts when whatever new projects are being offered? And on the one hand, this might be an interesting way to earn more money, or to become more famous, or whatsoever. But then giving oneself some time to step back and to contemplate on this decision that is about to be made, or to contemplate on what is really going on. So getting some distance from ourselves and starting to observe our own behavior,
Yeah.
our own feelings, so the movement of energy within our body, and our own thinking. So what am I thinking when certain things are happening? This is a very simple and a very small step, but it can be the beginning of a lifelong journey of coming closer to who I really am, and what my real gifts are, what my real contribution is, and how I want to lead my life. Although I don't know how this all will turn out, but it's a more conscious decision that will be then, or that allows us to take more conscious decisions, which then these conscious decisions are more aligned with the calling within, or with ourselves wanting to feel fulfillment, or whatever it is.
Yeah. I like that. And I think I can already anticipate some people feeling resistance to this, especially at the very beginning, where so many of the individuals that I work with, there's a bit of a control aspect, either wanting to control everything about you and your life, and or wanting to control the external as much as possible. And so I can already anticipate some people thinking, I don't have time. This is silly. What will asking myself these questions really get me? Even if I ask myself and am brave enough to admit to myself that perhaps I'm not as happy as I thought I would be in this position, what is that really going to get me? Right. Because at the end of the day, I still have to do this thing with my family. I still have to do this thing with my job. I still have to do this thing for myself. And it's easy to begin to dismiss the value of doing this, especially at the beginning when your brain hasn't had the opportunity to see the positive impact of this work yet. And so, this is a friendly reminder to everyone feeling that resistance that this is so incredibly important because it has an incredible ripple effect through your life. And like you said, it starts with that initial conscious awareness where perhaps you have not even recognized that there's a need for control, and being honest with yourself and recognizing that at the center is you. And the frustration and perhaps the anger and the dissatisfaction all stems from you. And once there's an acceptance of maybe it's not my colleague's fault, maybe it's not the market's fault, maybe it's not that external thing's fault, and I'm here at the center, that is a beautiful doorway to the transformation that you're speaking of. So I'd love to hear more about your experience with that sort of turning point that people get to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a beautiful example, and I'm hearing this also sometimes from people that I'm starting to work with. Maybe just to make it a bit easier to step upon this, or to jump upon your own shadow in a way, is we humans only, uh, I would say, we change for two reasons, or even we act for two reasons. Reason number one is we want to avoid pain. We want to get rid of pain. May it be physical pain, may it be emotional pain, may it be also just pain in connection, whatever there is. So there is a tendency, when the pain is getting too strong, then we are moving. Then we are considering, at least, okay, maybe something needs to change. That's one way of starting this journey, or this will help us to start this journey, is getting rid of the pain. The other part of the equation is, or the pendulum is, what is my desire? What is my yearning? What am I yearning for? What do I really want to build? What do I really want to create? And this is the for many people, there is an idea. Many people have an idea of, okay, this life would be better than the life I have in the moment, or I would love to have a more deeply loving, caring relationship, for example, or I want to contribute to a bigger cause, to a higher cause that is bigger than just my bank account, that goes beyond my bank account. So discovering this yearning of a different future, a future different from our past, is also a motivational direction. Or this could be, I would say, this could be the lighthouse there, where we direct um, where we take decisions, and then have the new direction. So it's either avoiding pain or feeling pleasure. And this is the reason why I said it's so important to take time for oneself, and to distance oneself a little bit from the daily rushes that we are in, is to realize this. Where am I really in situations that I can't stand any longer? I am done with this, and I want to change. Or when we come across whatever it is, can be a certain music, can be a certain movie where we see something, or a sound where we hear something, or people that we come across when surfing on the internet. that has a deeper resonance and that evokes a yearning within ourselves. So maybe to give you an example, for me, I often get goosebumps, and getting goosebumps is a wonderful sign because it's nothing that you can make up. It's something that happens through you or within you. So I get goosebumps when I see people really taking, how can I say this, really doing something substantially good in the world and supporting good causes, supporting humanity, building a company not only for the cause of making money, but to do something good in the world, to make sustainable changes, even systemic changes, especially nowadays. So when I see this, there is a very deep resonance that I feel. It's a physical feeling. As I said, it's the goosebumps that are coming up. And these little signs, these little hints that every one of us has, it can be also that we are getting touched or that we're getting into tears when we realize something. Whatever physical reaction, whatever deeper resonance there is, we should pay attention to this. And if we really want, if we want to make this our compass, then the fear of change or the fear of letting go of our old lives and letting go of our old identities is no longer as important as the yearning or the chance to experience a complete new quality in our lives. This can help in making the first steps into this direction.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to back up for a moment and unpack what you said at the beginning a little bit more, because it is the pendulum of either getting to rock bottom and having so much pain that enough is enough. And I think that's why there's so many beautiful transformation stories that come from people who were like, I was at rock bottom. And it took getting to rock bottom to finally change for that specific reason, because the pain threshold hadn't been crossed yet. And on the other side of that, like you said, the desire, the urge to build something that will bring the fulfillment. And so I want to unpack that and back up a little bit more and link it back to our conversation around upbringing and childhood. And really, I think an important missing piece in this process for many people is in the childhood, is in the bringing, where we are not taught, or at least here in North America, I can confidently say that the academic system, that the educational system fails us in this regard. And you can speak to your experience in Germany to this as well. But for us, it's very much go, 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 do, pick something and just do it with no real regard for you will spend decades of your life doing this. How can I help you figure that out at the super young age of 17 so that you have an understanding of what you want to do? And so for myself, when I was 16, 17, finishing up high school, we literally had our academic counselors come into the classes and just say, apply, apply to anything, college, university, apply to anything, just get in. And I remember sitting there being like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I waste my time applying to anything just to get in? And luckily for me, I knew that I liked psychology. So for me, it was like, all right, this is the natural next step. I'll go into it. But there were so many of my peers, and even for myself as I was going through school, it's like, well, my interests have changed. Well, I've evolved. I was 17, I'm 25 now. What I want to do has changed. And now that I've finished school, which was just textbook memorization, and now that I'm in the workforce and I'm having to do things that are not at all reminiscent to what I learned in school, this isn't what I want to do. And so for me, that was an 11 additional years of school versus for other people. And so many of my friends, it's like, well, this is where I'm at now, because the thought of going to school for 4 more years or learning something like a new skill to start a company or whatever, the thought of doing that seems like a bigger waste of time compared to just working for the next 40 years, which is also insane because the math is not mathing there, right? And so I think part of that, the flip side of that coin is that for most people, especially within families, there's not enough conversations happening around, well, what will fulfill you? What is your purpose and your passion without a guilt trip attached? And so what I hear often is like, if I want to do this and it's not something that my family has ever seen, it's not something that my friends are comfortable with, there will be so much judgment and resistance that will put so much doubt that will kill people's fulfillment before it even blossoms. And there's just not enough conversations had without guilt attached. So for myself, what comes to mind is I've been doing this work for a long time as well. And one of the things that I've had to reconcile within myself is this guilt that I feel when I acknowledge that I want more. And whatever guilt that is, it's maybe I'm leaving my friends behind, maybe I'm leaving something behind. But like as an example, I currently have a mom van with my two kids, and it's a mom van that was actually my mom's van. And funny enough, she never let me drive this car until one day I bought it from her, and now I drive it every day. But my passion, I would like to have a much more luxurious car. I do not want to be a soccer mom. But there's guilt that comes up with that because it's like, well, why is this car not good enough? Well, why do I feel like I need these other things? Why do I need these nice, like a nice Lexus or something? And on top of that, I'd like it to be green. But then immediately I shut that thought down because it's like, who am I to do this? Like, who am I to have this passion for a green car? And then ironically enough, at the daycare that I drop my kids off to, there is a car in the exact shade of green that I would love that shows up every day and like rubs it in my face. And so I've had to reconcile that. It's like, why am I feeling guilt? And when the guilt comes up, that is only going to prevent me from doing something that would ultimately make me happy. And instead, I think part of this conversation and part of people opening that Pandora's box is realizing and recognizing that I can either spend years continuing to feel discomfort and unease and just like an with my life, or I can push through the guilt and the uncomfortable feelings and actually be happy, possibly, right? Down the line. So love to hear your take on that too.
Yeah, it's so beautiful that you are sharing your personal story and this very I would say alive example from your own desires and from the feelings that prevent you, or actually it's not the feeling, it's what you think about the feeling. So it's about your valuation, or in this way maybe devaluation, um, of your unlimited worth, because you are the most important person in your life. There is no other person as important as you are. And people sometimes think say to me, Jan Hendrik, but this is very selfish. I said, yeah, you need to be selfish to a certain extent to not only fulfill your own calling and your own yearning, but also to take care of others. It's always the same example. It's nothing new. And I say when I get into the plane and the stewardess is teaching us, okay, in a case of an emergency, take care of yourself first and then help others. And it's so obvious, or it seems to be so obvious, but when it comes to ourselves, we often forget this, or we don't realize this, because the patterns that I was referring to at the very beginning of our conversation, these patterns that we have learned early on in our childhood or from society or from whomsoever, they are so deeply ingrained in our being. So we often don't think about these things, and especially if these are emotional patterns, they are connected with whatever some experiences, they come up immediately within ourselves. So it's the demons that I was referring to at the very beginning. So the beautiful thing, or maybe beautiful is not the right word, but the good thing of personal development is it's done for the sake of your own sovereignty. It's done for the sake of your individuation. And individuation, that's a term from Carl Gustav Jung, the psychoanalyst, lived here in Switzerland, actually not far away from where I live here, in the same community,
Yes.
in the early 20s of the last century. So individuation is what is all about. It's becoming fully human, a fully integrated human being, and especially integrating the parts of ourselves that we don't like, or the parts that we don't want to feel. For example, the feeling of shame. Um, just realizing that there is this feeling of shame, or whatever other feeling is coming up, can also be a feeling of fear. Realizing that this is going on within myself, if certain triggers appear, may they be in the outside, from what we see, or someone just pushes a red button and we then immediately get into this old pattern. Or it can be also ourselves, like in your example, there is a yearning for, in your case now, a new car, a beautiful car, a car that is maybe beyond what you have learned is appropriate for yourself. And immediately this feeling of shame comes up. And then there's even added on this is even the devaluation that you do upon yourself, because it's not really the others, it's more often ourselves. We are putting a label upon a feeling. And this is maybe not necessary all the time, or at least it's good to become aware, when are we putting this label on something that is just going on in our body. So this is the reason why I said observation of oneself, and perceiving more of what is going on inside of ourselves is not only the first step, it's the most important step. Because in this moment, when we come closer to ourselves, when we see more, when we realize more, when we are becoming more conscious about what is going on, we have the chance to consciously interrupt the automatic reaction that we usually have when the feeling comes up. So it's something where we can step in. I always used to call this the logical second between whatever, something happens, and then there is an automatic reaction. But in between this, if you extend this period a little bit, in between something is happening, I am putting a label on this, devaluing myself or whatever, I'm not worth, or I'm not eligible for this, and then reacting, or in your case, not reacting on it, preventing you from going after it, or preventing you from pursuing it. If we extend this period, this period that's usually automatic, then we have the chance to step into this, and to consciously decide what reaction is appropriate in this moment. And we are no longer bound to the automatic reactions from our early childhood, from society, from what others tell us.
Yeah, I think that's such an important part of the process. And I want to unpack that a little bit more, because it's so crucial. And I think this is like the very basic, most important first step that I want everyone to take away if they're new to this work. And this is why I think it's so important to work with a coach that you resonate with and that knows what they're doing in this work, because it's an essential part of the process that just gives you information. And then with that information, you just use it as data and decide how you want to proceed with it. And it's so crucial, because it's something that I've been working with myself. And so you and I have many conversations outside of this one. And a lot of the things that you have said to me have really triggered this internal journey of integration.
Mhm.
And so let me give you an example. I have self identified as a course junkie for many years. I love buying courses. I'm a classic statistic where I don't finish the courses, but the process of like that hunger for knowledge and validating it with courses is just so satisfying. But then I feel guilty about it. And so, based on a conversation that you and I had, I took that as information and said, like, the fact is, there is no changing this. I will continue to buy courses. I will continue to buy books that I don't read. I will continue to do this. But the more that I feel guilty about it, the less it helps me. Like, I'm not enjoying watching the courses that I have purchased because there's already guilt associated with it. But simply sitting down, and I was meditating one day on this, and I was just like, I will integrate this aspect and just accept it. And why am I not like sitting down with a cup of tea and a snack and actually enjoying the course that I was excited to watch? And so that simple shift in my perspective has changed the way that I'm showing up in my life with something as simple as watching a course. Like, I'm going to do it anyway. I might as well do it in a way that is enjoyable and that propels me forward. And so that's such a crucial part of the information where it's like, if I can't get to that place of awareness, I'm going to continue doing the things that I'm doing anyway, because it's who I am and it's the habits that I have. But it's going to derail me and take me down a different path of the guilt, of the incompletion, of, insert the blank, rather than going down a path that's leading me towards fulfillment and integration and wholeness. And just, even if it's simply a little bit more joy in your life, I feel like that alone is worth it. And so I'd love to hear from you more
Yes.
about
Hell
yeah,
yes.
yeah, the process of, I guess maybe you can speak to some of the changes and some of the shifts that you see within your clients of when they start to find that spark and that passion and the fulfillment, and maybe to your own experience with that as well. Like, the way that it just transforms your life. I think more people need to know that it's worth being uncomfortable for.
Yes, definitely. It's worth every effort in a way, or every blood, sweat, and tears in a way. So it's definitely worth the path, because the feeling of becoming more of who I am and becoming more fulfilled, more whole in a way, is outgrowing the whatever, the difficult path or the challenging path or the unknown. You need a bit courage, yeah, maybe a little bit more, to confront yourself with what is going on really inside, and to have this clarity for yourself. But for me, what I can say in general, and then I will maybe elaborate on a few examples from some clients. But what I can say in general is, I used to be a very controlling, left brain oriented, rational guy. At least I thought I am this. And yeah, there was a double studies, and yeah, there was a PhD, and yeah, okay, this works quite well there. The head works quite well. But what I realized is, I am much more emotional than I thought I am. My decisions are much more intuitive than I was admitting to myself. Because I thought, at those days, before I started all of this 25 years ago, I thought I need to control the outcome of my efforts. And this worked to a certain extent, but I separated myself so dramatically from life, from joy, from flowing, from just experiencing for the sake of experiencing, and from feeling alive. Because if you always try to control everything, then you every feeling that comes up, or every intuition that shows up, every preconceived knowledge that tries to get into your awareness from the inside, you put this away and say, ah, no, this is not on my plan, or ah, no, this is not what I thought the way will look like. But what I realized is, once I've started to let go of a specific way on how to live this life, or what direction to take in this life, and once I reduced this to only the values that are important to me, and as I said before, to the feeling of resonance. Okay, where are the goosebumps coming up? Where are the tears that are making my eyes wet when I see something, or when I talk to some person, or when I listen to someone? To take these realizations more and more as the compass in your life. And I realized that my life has become so much more exciting, so much more unpredictable in a way. But the unpredictability is no longer fear. There's no longer fear on this, at least not that big fear. There's still fear there, but the excitement, the curiosity, even the childish behavior of, okay, let's give it a try. I don't know where this leads to, but I'm going to make it, because it is right in this moment. It is the right thing to do. So you're living your life much more from moment to moment to moment. And I'm not saying having goals is bad. If you want to make goals in your life, make goals in your life. But it's not really necessary, because we often, and maybe also your listeners often realize that once they head towards a goal and they fight for it and they clench their fists and they really make it to whatever, a position or a six-figure month, or whatever it is that the goal they want to reach, this is often just a moment. When this goal is reached, yeah, it's a beautiful feeling, and it's a beautiful thing, and there's a celebration also. But the price that we often pay for not paying attention on the journey and the path um, is often very high. If we just are tense during our journey, and we are just heading towards a goal and forgetting the joyful moment. Life can be joyful, and can be sad, and can be frightening, and can be everything every moment. And this is what life is all about. This is what makes us feel alive, and what helps us to travel on this journey with more open hands. I often use this picture of I thought I had to clench my fists at the very early beginning of my career, or when I started everything, and then I thought I needed to fight my way up the ladder, and really I push into something, pushing and controlling. So, and one day I realized that when you're always this tense, when you're always clenching your fists in a way, then you're getting really pain in your arms. You're getting, in German you say, a tennis arm, which is, from playing too much tennis, then you're getting really pain in your arm. And so I realize, and I share with my clients nowadays, if they are tense most of the time, then I say, okay, what about opening your fists? Then you have two open hands. And can you imagine that something can fall easily in your hands? So you don't have to fight. And if you make a fist, then nothing can fall into your hands. So what about slowly but surely opening your hands and realizing that things also can be given to you, that you can receive gifts, that you can enjoy the journey. And this is for some of my clients, this is such a great relief, not only physically great relief, because the tension is there's less tension then, but it's just a great relief to no longer being in the illusion of controlling life. There is nothing to control, because it's a matter of fact that life is uncertain. It's better to learn or to embrace, or even, I know it's a big word, to love this uncertainty and to learn to deal with it and to integrate it, than trying to have the illusion of control, especially nowadays, especially in our nowadays world, where there is less and less predictability in the outside. You never know what the tariffs in the US will be next week, for example, or what is going on in certain regions. So even things that we thought were safe, or that were secure, or this was in order in a way, this is just no longer there. So there is less and less, how can I say this? There's less and less possibility to control anything in the outside. The only thing you can control is what is going on inside and how you are going to react of this. It's not about manipulation. It's no longer about manipulation. And I know that many, or not many, but some of the leaders out there are still trying to manipulate. They're still working with fear. They are working with shortages. They are working with whatever, threats. But if you become more integrated, and if you're no longer afraid of the feelings that others try to evoke within yourselves, of the fear, for example, that others try to evoke within yourself, then you're becoming really independent, and you're becoming really a sovereign human being. And this is what all my work is all about, helping the people to become more of who they are and express this in the world and make a difference with this in the world.
Yeah, and I think you said two things that really stood out to me that I want to touch on. The first is really the idea of knowing your triggers. And there's so much value in that, because the thing about triggers is we all have them. And really, when you allow yourself to be triggered, whether that's in a conversation, at work, with loved ones, you are giving away your power to the other person, whether that's energetically, whether that's quite literally. Like, the fact that they are able to trigger you and you are unable to control your emotional reaction, they win. Simple fact. And so, as challenging as it is, it's such an important thing for people to understand that whatever your triggers are, again, it's just information. It's not right or wrong. It's information that you must take the responsibility of using to actually understand, so that you can control yourself. Because, like you've already mentioned, the simple awareness of knowing that this is your trigger, when it comes up and you know that you're triggered, that alone changes the way that you react, because now you're not automatic. You're not just angry or blowing up, or you're not feeling justified because that person did the thing that triggered you. So your brain justifies it. Your reaction is valid every single time. But now you know, I'm triggered, and I'm not going to give my power away, and I'm going to react differently. And that simple shift alone just like changes the trajectory of life already. And so I just wanted to re-highlight that. And the second thing, backing up a little bit more, the second thing that you really said is getting to the place of understanding whether you are closed fist fighting for everything, and whether opening is so incredibly uncomfortable that you dismiss the thought entirely. And again, this takes us all the way back to childhood, because most people are taught you have to fight, you have to work hard, you're not given things. You take what you want, you fight for it, you work for it. And so for many of us, we are instilled with this belief from such a young age that the mere thought of opening and receiving is like, well, this is like charity. Like, I haven't earned it. Like, this is weird, right? Like, I'm not here for this. And so what I want the listeners to really touch on is take a moment and reflect on yourself. The next time you receive something, the next time you receive something as simple as a compliment, if someone offers to buy you a cup of coffee, what is your reaction? And if your immediate reaction is to be quote unquote polite and reject it, you're not able to receive and you are completely closed fist. And so if you can't receive a compliment, how can you receive any sort of gift from life? And I know it's counterintuitive for many people. And they're like, I'll take that promotion and I'll take that sale. But you will be pushing it away the same way as you would push away a compliment. And so if you find yourself in that position where you are rejecting the compliment and you're finding yourself saying like, oh, actually the sweater's old, or oh no, I like your hair better. Stop yourself and learn to just say, I appreciate that. That's the thing I always teach everyone I work with. It's just say, I appreciate that and leave it. And that really icky feeling that comes up that's like, but I want to compliment you back, but I want to say something nice back. Don't. Just receive. And over time, it gets so much easier. And the beautiful thing is, the more that you're able to receive, the easier it becomes to share as well. And so an interesting pattern I have seen in my clients is when they get over that initial discomfort and they start accepting compliments and accepting praise and accepting things that come in, they become so much more generous with their time and energy as well. And it's such an interesting pattern that they fall into, and then they can't even go back. It's like, I can't believe I used to be this way. Like, this is so much better. But it takes that shift. And so to come full circle, I'd love to hear more about your whole philosophy and your approach to becoming the sovereign human and really embodying all these different parts of ourselves and integrating different aspects of our childhood, our upbringing, our beliefs, our reactions, but also the beautiful parts of us with our goals and our passions and our values. And so to sort of bring it full circle, tell us a little bit more about that and the positive aspects of that as well.
Yeah, I will do this. The beautiful thing is, this is the way on how I see myself and how I also see others. They are, I am, you are, they are, everyone is already a beautiful human being. So from your very core, you are already integrated. There is everything that you need in a way for your life, for example, to be deeply fulfilling and strongly successful, highly successful, or whatever success means for you personally. It is already there. It is already within you. The only challenge, in a way, for some people, or for many of us, including myself, is to let go of what I am not, and to let go of what prevents me to access this this worth, this unlimited worth within. And the calling that I have, the purpose that I have within my life. Everyone, I'm deeply convinced with this, has a place on this beautiful planet. Everyone has a place. It is just the only question, are we courageous enough to find our own place, to find our own integrity? And to, yes, it needs to be, there needs to be some boldness to step into this role, or to step into this whatever contribution that we are going to make, or that we are invited to make in our lives. So it's, for me, in the work that I do, and it's a very intense work, it's a one-on-one work, it's sometimes 24/7, some days, sometimes weeks, where I am together with my clients, holding the mirror towards them, towards their blind spots, what they are not seeing. Either they've avoided to see it, or They were just not aware of it. And holding this mirror towards them, making things or helping them to see more of who they are, more of what their life could look like, and more of what they can contribute to humanity. Because this is important to me. It's maybe not important to everyone, but the people who work with me, they don't want to only fill up more their bank accounts or have more millions or have whatever, more real estate or more material goods. They are coming with the intention of, okay, how can I contribute in a better way? How can I give back in a better way? How can I feel more connected to myself, but also to the people that are important to me, or to the causes that are important to me? So I'm holding the mirror towards them so that light falls to their blind spots. Because where our blind spots are, where our old patterns are, and where our projections are, there is the potential for growth. And if we start embracing these negative parts, or so-called negative parts, or the things that we don't want to feel, or the thoughts we don't want to think because they are not appropriate or whatsoever, if we embrace this as part of ourselves, we are becoming more free. We are becoming more free in perception, but also in our actions. We can decide more freely, what do I want to do with my life? What decisions do I want to take from the place of my soul? And there is a good chance that if we connect to this place within, and if we integrate all the different parts, so if we become aware of our thinking, what are our thinking patterns? If we allow the feelings rushing through our body and just let them there, just let them do their work and let them tell us something, but not reacting automatically on them. So if we put awareness on the thinking, put awareness on the feeling, if we are opening our bodies also to perceive more, to sense more inside, to recognize the goosebumps when they are there, and to recognize the tears when they are coming in certain moments. And the fourth dimension, and this is not for everyone, but this is definitely part of my teaching, or my path, my own path, and the path of many of my clients, is to integrate the spirituality in life. So something, whatever you call it, it's not bound to any religion, but it's a principle that there is something bigger than we are, and something that holds it together in a way. And if you combine, or if you integrate all these four dimensions, the thinking, the feelings, the body, and the spiritual part, then you have a good chance of becoming a fully integrated individual, fully integrated human being, or a true human, or whatever you will call it. And you are becoming a sovereign in a way that you are no longer dependent on what is going on in the outside, but take your decisions from your heart and from your mind, and have a much bigger sovereignty. And for many people, for some people, the word sovereign or sovereignty brings up fears of being too egoistic, or just rushing through life and not taking too much care about others, or becoming an ego shooter in a way. That's not what sovereignty is all about. It's about integration of all parts of who we are, and being part of humanity, and of all the other humans, because we are not, on a deeper level, we are not separate.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so beautiful because it's an idea I've been playing around with recently as well. And this is the concept of the cliche, you can be great, you can do great things, but unpacking it a little bit more because it's so true. And fundamentally, what most people forget is that everyone's definition of great is different. Everyone's definition of success and fulfillment is different. And at the core, we all know that there's a greater purpose to life. That's why there's always the questions of, well, what else is there? What am I here for? What is the purpose of life? Because we all have this little nudge within us. And I think there's so much freedom in giving yourself permission to, first of all, understand that your definition of great is different than other people's. And that's good, that's valuable, because if we were all after the exact same things, and not because society told us to, we would all live in a very different world. And really, I'm going to simplify it a little bit more, but it's like, go on YouTube and just browse. And the amount of niches and the amount of interest and the amount of people doing amazing, incredible things.
Yeah.
There's people doing amazing things knitting. There's people doing amazing things camping. There's people doing amazing things fixing cars. And whatever it is that your passion is, just give yourself the permission to admit it, and then give yourself the permission to try pursuing it. And so I think that is the little asterisk I'm going to add to this conversation. And so, any final thoughts or takeaways for the listeners here?
Let me take a deep breath. This was a bit of a ride that we did in our conversation. It was a beautiful ride. The only thing really to say, and maybe it's a bit repetitive, but sometimes we need to hear things a few more times to let them sink in, is you are already a beautiful human being. You are already capable of living a fulfilled and a successful life, whatever success means for you personally. Don't let others dim your light. Don't let others tell you what you are capable of or what you're not capable of. Life is about try and error. Life is nothing that we need to plan or to anticipate or to control. Hell not. It is not. It is not for control. Life is about try and error. And it's about finding our way, finding maybe the waves on which we want to surf in life. And sometimes the waves are just going a little bit down, and then you have high waves on the right side and high waves on the left side, and you think, oh, I'm really small in between these waves, and they seem to be so far away to reach. Past positive experience, past beautiful things are gone. The new is not yet there, and we are in the middle, maybe in this valley. What I would like to encourage, or what I can encourage everyone, is there's always ups and downs, and when there is an up, there's always a down. When you are in a dark, just imagine a game of chess. Then you have black and white, black and white, black and white. So it's always both, and it needs to be both. We need to have both sides. We need to have this polarity. But deep inside, it's sometimes good through, I don't know, meditation, but sometimes it's good to realize that it's all one, that we are all one despite our own polarities, and that life is all one. And we might be getting there through meditation or contemplation, or just a realization that after a black field, within a black field, you're surrounded by white fields, and it's the other way around. And this has helped me to cope with the many, many, many changes and the many, many difficult times that I was going through in life, to cope with them and to not lose deep primal trust. This is maybe the core ability that we all need, and we all have this, but sometimes it's lost, or sometimes it's hidden. But to put all your trust in life, and in life that will be lived through you in a way, and ask yourself, okay, what wants to live through me? What am I bringing into this world? What am I creating in this world? What is my contribution? What wants to grow through me next in life? This question can help us determine in a more deeper way, and maybe it's a bit more subtle way, but in a deeper way of what's next. And just a question of what do I want to do next is possible. And there's nothing wrong with this question. But what I have learned, putting this a little bit different, not what I want to do next, but what wants to come through me next in life. And following this calling or this message or whatever pops up will make life a lot more exciting and fulfilled.
Sure, it's I like that a lot. I like that concept to end on, because otherwise everyone will be perpetually stuck in their limiting beliefs and their childhood upbringing and their old way of doing things. And if you don't follow that pull, no matter how subtle, nothing will change. Something has changed for things to change. So I like that. If anyone would like to connect with you, where can they find you? Where should they go to find you?
Yes, for sure. I'm all over on social media, so a good way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. So if everyone listens to this and wants to connect with me, or just wants to follow me and listen to what I do there on video, or what I'm publishing there, LinkedIn is a good thing. I'm also on Facebook, and not so often yet on Instagram. Maybe this is going to change in the future, but LinkedIn and Facebook is a good social media place where I am present. And for sure, if someone wants to reach out directly to me, it's my current website, which is exclusiveadvice.com, like exclusive advice, one word, .com. And there's many ways on how to get into contact with me.
Yeah. And I'll leave all the links in the description below as well, so everyone can check that out. Perfect. Thank you so much for being on here today. It was amazing. So many insights, and I can't wait to hear about everyone's breakthroughs.
Thank you very much, Christina, for giving me the space, for holding the space here for me for this 1 hour, almost 20 minutes. It was beautiful. I'm very grateful for having had the chance to share a little bit from my experience and from the experience of my clients. And I hope to catch up soon again.
Thank you.